Thank you so much. Welcome to Douglas County. My name is Kelly Robinson, and today is May 16, 2023. This is the Transportation Committee at 2 p.m. of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. We've got a pretty full agenda, so we're going to go ahead and jump right into this. In order for us to conduct business, I must establish a quorum of our voting members first. So we'll go around the room as you guys know what our order process is. I'll start with myself. You must say your name, so for the official record, because this is being done by Zoom. Kelly Robinson, present.
Suleiman Rana, present.
Ron Roberts, present.
Heath, you're on mute.
Heath Coward, present.
Great. Is there anybody else that are voting members? We do have a shortage, but we have at least 4 out of our voting members, which allows us to have a quorum. So we're going to keep this meeting going. I just want to also establish some of our guests that may be out there. Is Mr. David Good out there as support?
I'm here, Commissioner. Present.
Great. Is our firm, the Collaborative, Danielle, are you out there?
Yes, sir.
Ron, do we have any other guest speakers that's going to be on the agenda? Are they here?
Yes, Commissioner. Rachel and Stephen are here from RS&H to present on the Trans Master Plan update.
Excellent.
And my deputy is also on the line, Eric.
Right. Great. Eric, we'll come back to you later. We may have to add you later as a voting member, but in the meantime, we're going to keep this going. Looks like we have enough to keep the meeting going. So, Director Rana, please, our first order of business is make sure we adopt the meeting minutes from our last meeting. So you want to go ahead and read those out and call a motion to adopt them?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, committee. So the first action item is acceptance of April 18th Transportation Committee meeting minutes. I hope everyone has had an opportunity to look over those. And if there are no questions, I make a motion that the committee accepts those minutes as presented.
Second.
All right, we got a motion by Director Rana. We got a second by Director Roberts. Any discussion? If none, we'll go ahead and just by our name and what our position is on the vote, yes or no. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Suleiman Rana, yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
Heath Coward, yes.
All right, unanimous passage and acceptance and adoption of the meeting minutes. All right, Director, keep going.
Next item is updates from Connect Douglas. For that, I'll hand it over to Director Roberts.
Thank you, Suleiman, and thank you, Commissioner, for the kind words at the work session yesterday. We did enjoy very much participating with you on the radio show. I have with me today Rachel Hatcher and Steve Cote from RS&H with a update. It's a good update on the Trans Master Plan related to existing conditions, and I will welcome them to present at this time.
Rachel, welcome. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to see you all again. If we would be granted permission to share our screen, I'd love to share some slides with you all today.
Please try now.
All right. And please confirm when y'all can see my screen.
You're up.
You got it.
All right. Well, thank you for the introduction, Ron. It's great to see you all today. My name is Rachel Hatcher with RS&H. I am the prime on the Douglas County Transit Master Plan. We do have your Deputy PM, Steve Cote, on the line, as well as support from the Collaborative firm, which is helping to head up the public and stakeholder engagement. So Ms. Melanie Barber is also with us today. So we'll have a couple of folks step in and present certain sections of this update. I'm going to move rather quickly through the slides because we do have a fairly robust agenda to present to you all today, and I know we have limited time. But I will provide a copy of these slides to you all so you all can review them in your own time and share with us if you have any questions. We're happy to update you on any other items you find interesting after the meeting. So today we're going to cover just a really brief overview of the study for those who haven't seen it to date, as well as some schedule updates. An overview of the ongoing public and stakeholder involvement process. As you'll recall, in our previous update to this committee, we stated that it would be a 90-day process. So we're closing that out in the month of June. So we've got a lot of preliminary results we'd love to share with you today. We have some preliminary results from existing conditions and some very high-level operational analysis that we're ready to share, and then we'll also take you through next steps. So I really love this graphic. It helps to provide a little insight into the moving parts and elements of the plan and how they overlap, particularly with public involvement. So in the top part of the graphic, you'll see the launching of the study, moving into data collection and existing conditions, and the deliverable of that is a memorandum. And then underneath that graphic, you see the project kickoff and the development of the public involvement plan, and then how that public involvement, engagement, and visioning moves through the process and overlaps with that existing condition. So ultimately, at the end of June, what you end up with is an existing conditions memo, as well as a summary of the feedback that was received by key stakeholders, elected officials, and the public, so that you can compare the data-driven process to the public and stakeholder engagement process to demonstrate where there is perceived need for transportation. So putting that into calendar format, you can see that we're in the month of May, which is just before halfway through the study. We've collected nearly all the data needed. We're working through existing conditions and nearly complete with the draft of that report. And we are closing out the public engagement efforts for phase 1 in June. So we're right on track. So we're going to focus a little bit more on public and stakeholder engagement in the first part of this presentation. And I am going to ask Melanie Barber to support me in that. I'm going to kick it off on the first slide. And this is just providing an overview of those different buckets, if you will, of strategies and elements of our public involvement plan and process. And then we're going to go into some detailed results and some of the mechanisms we're using in order to bring these various tasks to fruition. So we do have individual interviews that we are scheduling and preparing to conduct with a very broad cross-section of the community. We have those that are affiliated organizations that depend on public transportation. We have transportation providers that rely on connections to Connect Douglas. And then we have folks that are responsible for the system. So both key staff, as well as the decision makers and funders of the system. So a lot of individual and small group interviews being conducted. We find that folks are most comfortable in that setting where they can share more freely their thoughts and ideas. We'll have community surveys. We have launched 2 different surveys, so those are ongoing. Website, social media engagement, community workshops and pop-ups, and targeted community outreach. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Melanie for the next couple of slides. And Melanie, if you just want to cue me, I'll shoot through them for you.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Rachel. I appreciate it. So I am serving as the lead on the Public Involvement Plan. Commissioner, we had an opportunity to actually speak on Saturday. So good to see you on here. So stakeholder involvement. So we have project management team, technical advisory committee, our key stakeholder interviews, and our system leadership and staff, as well as our elected officials. These are who we have identified as our key components of making sure that our outreach is targeted to these specific stakeholders. So what we did very early on in the project is we created a project fact sheet as well as a project website. Our project fact sheet basically serves as an overview of some of our focus areas with the Transit Master Plan. And we also wanted to make sure that we included our mission. Including our mission, it helps people resonate with the why, right? So we're very mindful when we put information out that we have an opportunity for people to understand the benefits and what's important with this announcement. Our project website that we have, this basically is a platform that we've created. It gives the public an opportunity to dive deeper into the project overview. We also have our survey in English and Spanish, which is highlighted, and we are encouraging everyone to stay connected to us on the project website. So this has been a great tool for us very early on in the project as well as ongoing. So when identifying some of our engagement tactics, it was important for us to make sure that we were actually talking to the residents of Douglas County. So we were very intentional about having a presence in all 4 districts. And we've highlighted some of the events that we've attended, as well as some of the upcoming.
No, Thursday.
Mute your phone, guys. Mute your phones. Sorry, Melanie. Keep going.
No, no problem. So here we've just identified some of our targeted community events that we've done. These have been pop-up style. So what that means is they're informational booths where people have an opportunity to take the survey with our QR code on the spot, and it's an opportunity for us to engage and educate the public on the transit master plan. Bark in the Park, Steve and I had an opportunity to attend that. The radio interview where obviously, you know, the commissioner was able to serve as a resource for any questions and answers. The Douglasville Music Festival, that was a great turnout on Saturday. There was a lot of people there, and we have the Taste of Douglasville. I know, Rachel, you'll be at that event, and then we have our Juneteenth festival as well. So those are some of the events that we've done and some that we will be doing. So we have several outreach tactics, and as you all can see, there's quite a few on here, but I wanted to make sure that I highlighted a couple of them that have been extremely successful. So we have done our text message campaign, where that is an opportunity for residents in Douglas County with zip codes that we've identified as targeted zip codes to receive a message and a survey on their phone. So with the company that we use, they have told us that over 1,000 people clicked on that survey. And so when we had an internal meeting about that, what that said to us is that people are very interested in this topic, whether they have positive or negative things to say, people want to know more. And then our email blast, we have worked with our partners at the Douglas County Chamber of Commerce, the Douglas County Parks and Recreation. They have really served as great partners with helping us get this information out to their database. We also, as I mentioned, the project fact sheet, the project website, that's been very helpful. And we've had 2 full-page ads in the Chapel Hill News and Views. So that's been great as well. So that's just a quick overview. As you can see, we have several tactics. Some of our engagement highlights, we have reached over 500 Douglas County residents, which is awesome. And we've gained insights into various reservations that people have. And I just wanted to kind of dive into this a little bit because which was very interesting on Saturday, a few of us were out at the music festival. And as we were engaging with people and residents of Douglas County, some of them didn't think that there were any benefits to transit because they didn't ride, they weren't transit users. So once we were able to have more robust conversations around eliminating congestion over Chapel Hill, or, you know, people were left with different perspectives on just their views on transit in general. So it's been great. So those are some of the highlights. So we're really excited because this is great news for us. As Rachel quickly, you know, she mentioned our community survey that's in progress now. This survey opened on April 1st, and we have 995 total responses. This survey will be out until the end of this month. And I wanted to just give a brief overview of some of the highlights and key takeaways from this survey. Providing mobility options for transit populations ranked #1 for our participants. 56% of our participants wanted to make sure that if transit opportunities were more available, that it connected to downtown Atlanta. And 47% of the survey participants wanted to make sure that there was a connection to Cobb County. And Atlanta Airport was ranked the #1 place that people wanted to make sure that we had a connection to on transit. All right, so yes, Rachel, are
Yep,
you?
I am.
Okay, all right, okay, thank you.
So this next slide is showing the response rates by zip code. So we did ask respondents to share with us their home location via zip code so that we can ensure we're getting a good broad cross section of the community and also helping to inform us where we perhaps need to increase our advertising for the survey. So we have responses for home locations in most zip codes with the highest response rate at 49.2%, and the central zip code of 30135. That is the largest zip code in the county, and it does include the largest majority of Douglasville, so that's not a surprising response rate. But 1.4% of the respondents do not live in Douglas County, which means collectively we are hitting the right mark. And then our next slide is the work locations by zip code from respondents. And what we found was really interesting on this graphic. There were responses in most zip codes. The largest response rate was, again, that 30135, which is the largest, most central zip code in the county. However, instead of almost 50%, which is where folks reside, the work location was only 14.1%. 64.2% of respondents to this survey do not work in Douglas County, but they do live in Douglas County. So we've got a large majority of folks that are residing in Douglas County, but their work locations are located outside of the county. So we found that really interesting and dug a little bit deeper into the data to better understand where folks were going and what that out-migration really looks like. We do have an additional survey that's underway before we jump into existing conditions where we'll evaluate that influx and out movement of employment. But I do want to hit on an ongoing customer experience survey that's also underway now. That survey did open on May 4th. It will be processed for 30 days, so it is in progress. We do have that available in Spanish as well as in English. And with just a short couple of days, we have 36 total responses to this survey. This is really focused on the current ridership. So the broader community survey is asking folks, if you don't ride it, why? If you do ride it, how can we improve it for you? But this is really focused only on those that are currently using the system today to make sure that any changes we do implement in the future wouldn't be to the detriment of those current riders, to better understand their needs as well. So most respondents' key takeaways with just 36 total responses so far is that they are enthusiastic about transportation options, looking for other ways to meet their needs for transportation services. And then school and work are ranked as the top needs for public transportation for those that are riding. So we're going to dive into existing conditions and pick up the pace a little bit so we don't consume your total meeting with our update. But we did review a significant number of previously completed regional and local plans. Some of the key takeaways in the region as well as in Douglas County is that y'all are really investing in transit, not just in Douglas County, but in surrounding counties and in the region as a whole. So that's really important to continue that momentum. There is an emphasis on a multimodal system, so making sure that first and last mile connectivity is really emphasized, and then planning to accommodate significant future growth. So we did look at that historical timeline where your transit story began in 1982 and has continued to grow and add different modes of transportation over the years, including the 2019 launch of the fixed route bus service. The next slide just provides an overview of the services that are available to date, including fixed route bus service, express service, ADA paratransit, and then work trip van pools and carpool matching. A little bit more granularity on the existing service. We won't go into significant detail here. You all know the system as it operates today begins roughly at 6 a.m., ends roughly at 8 p.m., and then 7 to 8 on Saturday service. But the interesting element on this slide is that your maximum vehicles operating in service, so VOMs, vehicles at maximum service, is 15 vehicles. So at any given time, in both demand response and fixed route bus, there are 15 vehicles available for service for the public. And I think that's a really substantial investment in transportation for a system as young as y'all's is. Our next slide is looking at your financial overview. So you have two different pots of money that are primarily used for transportation services, including operating, which is a split of directly generated fares, federal assistance and local funds. And then for your operational, for your capital side, you don't have direct fares, of course. That's just a split between federal 80% and 20% local funds. So that provides just an overview and breakdown of the funding that's allocated annually. We also have an overview of ridership by mode. So this first cluster of bars on the bar graph is your mode bus. And then the colors are associated with the year. So the gray band in mode bus would be your first year of service, which was 2019. Then you can see you started to see a sharp uptick in ridership in 2020, which is really great. We were excited to see that. But we all know what happened in 2020 and continued into 2021. We had the COVID-19 pandemic that required reduction in service as well as social distancing. So we saw a decline in ridership in 2021. But what I really love about this graphic is that decline in ridership associated with COVID-19 never hit as low as your first year of service. So you retained service even though the world was experiencing significant shutdowns and shelter-in-place orders. So we are going to add your 2022 numbers, which have not yet been accepted by the National Transit Database. So once those have been accepted, which is anticipated in June, you'll get to see that additional year of service, which based on the presentations that I've sat through over the last several months, we're expecting to be significantly higher than previous year of service. So that's going to be really exciting to see. For demand response, you can see the same trend, high and growing, and then that reduction that occurred associated with COVID-19. And you can really see the impact of COVID-19 on the van pool program, where you had up to 80,000 van pool trips per year in its highest point in 2017, and then that reduced down to around 13,000 rather, in 2020. So COVID-19 had the most substantial impact to the van pool program. We won't belabor these next graphics. These are operational efficiency and effectiveness graphs, and these are really great to pour over and get into the details, but what they really show is that your system, while it's performing on the high end of acceptable for the cost of the system, it's not outside of reasonable given the COVID-19 pandemic impacts. So when you look at things like how expensive is it to operate the system per passenger and how expensive is it per trip, the costs are on the higher end, but given that the ridership was significantly lowered by COVID-19, this is within a really positive outlook. So I'm excited to see the NTD data for the next year to really see those ridership numbers climb. And as long as the spending is not outpacing the increase in ridership, y'all are going to be in a really, really healthy spot as ridership continues to grow. This next set of graphs is your service effectiveness. So how many trips are being serviced for every mile that you're operating and how many trips are being serviced for every hour of service you provide. And you can really see the same trend, particularly on the graph on the right, where you see things really going in a positive direction and then COVID-19 hits and you see a decline. So we do intend to hold the existing conditions report until the NTD data is released in June and add that so we can really get a more clear picture of how the system is operating currently. The additional slides that I have are really based on the community as a whole, looking at growth, number of jobs. This slide is showing you that influx of population that's coming for jobs in Douglas County versus Douglas County residents leaving for jobs in other regions. So you see you have 50,000, just over 50,000 Douglas County residents leaving the county for employment purposes, yet you have almost 33,000 coming in. So you've got almost a full fruit basket turnover of employment coming in versus going out. The highest top 10 places where Douglas County residents work, of course, is Atlanta. And then the next several slides are really looking at where concentrations of population that reside in Douglas County live. So the first slide shows density. The higher the density, the greater opportunity for the number of riders that would be needed to justify service. And then we break that down into your various transit propensity categories, things like low income, limited English proficiency, zero vehicle households, 65 and older seniors, minority populations, supplemental security income, median household income. So each of those are going to be layered in order for us to identify the greatest concentration of potential. So we can say, if we're going to put services in any type of concentration somewhere, we need to see where we have the greatest opportunity and then decide whether or not we're going to have the highest concentration where the greatest need is, or the highest concentration where the greatest opportunity is. So that'll be in the goal setting workshop we have with the officials. This next map is just any destination in the county, which is key for transportation services. So you really want to look for clusters, but you can see they're really scattered throughout the county. There's not a whole lot of areas that don't have at least one key destination for transit services. So that's really great to see and really does start to paint the picture that countywide service is something that should be desirable. And then we do have last slide, your regional employment destinations. This is looking at the specific employment locations for Douglas County residents. And you can see most of those are occurring in their greatest concentration east of the county and moving into DeKalb County. So our next steps for the study, we'll have a technical committee convened this week. There are many of you on this committee that will be participating in that one. We'll have a detailed operational analysis completed at the end of June once the MTE data is released. We'll be finalizing that existing conditions report and the first round of public engagement summary, and then we'll begin service scenario development and financial estimating. So July will be an exciting time when we start to really dig into the results of all these preliminary study efforts and start to germinate on what the solutions should be to some of the problems and opportunities that are identified. I know that was fast, and I'm sorry for the time I did take, but I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
No, thank you for that, Rachel. We are going to keep moving, but that was very rich and robust, and I appreciate your methodology and your framework. I get it. I think the outcome from this should be very beneficial to the decision makers of our transit. It'll give us a great tool that we can use to make some good decisions about our future. So just a couple quick things, because I've got to keep this going. So I'm going to back up to, our mission is important. It goes without being said. Yes, you got to keep that in front of the people. There's so many surveys. There's so many plans. And people get getting hit about all the time about all these different things for input and stuff, but you also have to bring it up to the forefront what this one's about. So thank you for highlighting that. A second one to Melanie. What I didn't hear though, I appreciate the taste of Douglasville and the things that you got. But if you guys miss Roger Bruce, State Reps Roger Bruce 20th Catfish Rodeo at Sweetwater State Park this weekend, that's going to be a disaster. That's where I'm going to be.
Yeah.
This will be
will
my
be there.
15th straight year. This will,
We will be there.
important.
We will be there.
Yes,
All right,
we
but
will definitely
don't-
be there.
That was important. I had to say that just for the record. Like, no, you can't miss that now. I get Taste of Douglasville, but that's just as important. It is at the most busiest state park in the state. They always have a nice turnout and stuff, and we get a lot of feedback from time to time that at our district level, that's where I go to make sure I get input. So you got to spread it out. You got to divide and conquer. So please don't forsake that. It begins at 9 o'clock. It ends at 3. And I made sure when I spoke to them last night, well, are y'all going to be here? It's like, well, they will. All right, so you get that. I'm going to keep moving. The second thing is I'm going to go back to last time we talked, you said 800 people had responded. I think it was somewhere 700, 800. But today I'm hearing it's about 500 people. And I'm going to go back to, I don't know if that's the holistic number, etc. But the original need back in 2015, that when we did our last study, it was about a need for transportation transit services in general was about 10 to 12,000 people. So we used 10,000 for an even number. So last time I heard, if you had 1,000 people that gave you input, that's about 10%. That's about right. But I need a higher number. So I'm hoping that we can increase that number. It's what I call, again, one more time, the fallacy of low numbers. And if this is all we got, you can't force people to respond. And I appreciate all the efforts, all the pop-up, all that, but I'm just, I know how to look at data. I'm a data guy. So I understand what I'm listening to. Like, all right, guys, I hope this is indicative truly. Yes, you got the flavors, but is it you get enough depth in the survey to really, does it really have the voice of the people? All those stakeholders, you got all the right buckets, but we need participants. You can't force them, I know. But again, I just want to emphasize how important that is for me to know that we get to a reasonable threshold, that this wasn't just a pound of paper. We went through the exercise, we checked the boxes, but did it really touch the people? Did we really get their input? And it wasn't necessarily we come with a top down, say this is what it's going to be. So I want to make sure, just keep emphasizing the need to get that as much input as you can. I got something on my text that asked me to go participate. So I'm like, oh man, wow, okay, I did mine through text, so I get it. So you guys are doing a great job on that. So thank you for that. I've got to keep going. There's a lot of data. Please, Ron, can you ensure that we get this data, these slides and stuff? That is important.
Yes.
We can double back and look at it at our own leisure. But you guys are on the right track. Keep going. And again, it's about outcome. It's about recommendation. So while I appreciate all the activities that you're doing, it's about the outcome. It's the output, right? What is the deliverable, and what will I do? Is it an actionable deliverable that I can act on? Right, so it's me. I get analysis. I get that, but is it going to be formatted in such a way that you're going to? Here's a set of recommendations going to guide you forward. Will y'all have that type of recommendation? Or is it just like, hey, we just interpreted what you got, but it didn't give us a path forward?
There will absolutely be a path forward, and in addition to that, it's going to tie directly out to the commissioner's goals and objectives, what we heard from the public, the technical underpinning, and give you key performance indicators. So you'll have something that's highly actionable that shares with you what the impacts of those decisions will be and how you can continue to track them. And I did want to update you, Commissioner, that we do have 995 total survey responses to date. That 500 was individual touch points with people at the pop-up. So we'll keep that momentum going.
There we go. Now I feel better. Thank you for that clarifying. We're close to that 10%. Yeah, we're on point. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I got to keep it moving. So
Yes, sir.
again, this was just a briefing. Those are on the committee. Any comments? Because we got to keep this section going. This was worth it. The time of investment. But if there's no comment, we got it. Ron, I know you got a separate section as part of that. Any comments, Director Ron?
No, sir. I think everything was great, and appreciate all the presentation and information provided.
All right. Ron?
Yes, sir. We do it.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, and then, so Daniel Cherry Hoover has a brief update as well, Commissioner. We're going to bleed into that real quick. Keep it going.
Yep, thank you. Danielle, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Should I, am I able to share, Director Anna?
Yes, you should be. Yes, I see your screen going up now.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is talk about current conditions on the path forward. So a lot of this is piggybacking off of what the TMP and what Rachel and Melanie just mentioned. So I'll breeze through that. This is a more granular view of what was stated. So to date, 15 months of consecutive growth. That is exactly what Rachel just mentioned. So when I mentioned the 15 consecutive months, again, what was stated post-COVID. So since February of 2022 to date, 15 months of growth. In particular, of course, within marketing, we can compare previous year and month to month. So April of 2022 versus April of 2023. In comparison, that's 38%. 38% ridership increase April of 22 versus April of 23. So what I mentioned about month to month and year to year. This time last year meaning 2022, from January to April of 2022, compared to date, meaning January of April of 2023, we have an additional 2,602 additional riders compared to this time last year. So again, this information also coincides exactly with Rachel and Melanie mentioned. And of course, just visually, you'll see that here. January to date, increase in growth. So I'm going to breeze through this because you heard it. We're just talking about granular. Thank you to Intergovernmental Affairs. We gave a presentation to the members of the Citizens Academy. We've done that each year for the past almost 3 years. And it was such a wonderful opportunity to meet the 10 plus members who were there on April 25th. Had some wonderful testimonials from those who did actually ride the bus previously to meeting those wonderful members. And I believe they are, that class is graduating this week, correct me if I'm wrong. So thank you to Tiffany Stewart Stanley and her department. Thank you to the gentleman who also participated, Assistant Director Wright, and of you as well, Commissioner Robinson. We were on WXJO 1120, and it was a wonderful opportunity to not only talk the state of affairs, but again, the path moving forward to also include the TMP. So that was a wonderful opportunity, and thank those who did listen in. And again, thank you to those who helped coordinate over at WXJO again, this is a Douglas County station along one of the bus routes as well. So just to briefly touch base on some KPIs, what I do want to give a caveat in these numbers, it does not give indication on customer service. What we're doing is just tracking, doing the landscape analysis currently. So transitions is actually Commute Solutions, our third-party bus operating system. They are tracking the calls internally. We are also soliciting the assistance of Douglas County IS team, Information Systems team, to track the internal calls. Within the phone tree, the county IS department can only track those, of course, within the phone tree, meaning nothing that transfers outside of Douglas County phone tree system. So as you see in the top right, transitions, if someone calls into the Connect Douglas number, you have options of 1 through 4. Flex ADA number 1, transitions if they have a question about scheduling, help find their bus, etc. That goes to option 2. 3 is the mobility coordinator, which is an internal line. And 4, which beams under the cover of customer service or the umbrella of customer service. And that goes directly to the front desk at Connect Douglas. And now those are, as you can see, those are the numbers. So what we're doing is just an internal landscape analysis so that these could future be placed on the KPI website and we can track trends. Digital ongoing supports. Another wonderful opportunity of Connect Douglas on Google business page. To date, we can track some things. Again, just to notice trends from January through April of 2023, total searches, total views. When someone, as you know, if you do, if you're searching for directions, you click on that map icon. So for example, 276 people to date have clicked on that map icon. And then phone calls, website links, etc., and total searches. So that is being tracked as well for trends, and then areas of opportunity and improvement. So we can reach those digitally who are utilizing Google or Google searches. And to make it doubly clear, we will be at Roger Bruce, State Representative Roger Bruce's event, the Catfish Rodeo, an annual fun day on May 20th, and as well as Taste of Douglasville on May 20th. So those in the county or those who are visiting the county have an opportunity to literally spend your whole day in Douglas County on those 2 events. And please stop by Connect Douglas and take the survey and interact with the TMP. What I want to give note to those who are listening and to the committee is that, of course, the Taste of Douglasville, May 20th, for the second time, there will be a free shuttle service. Those who can are attending the Taste of Douglasville in downtown Douglasville can park for free at the multimodal transportation center at 88 Doris Road and take the shuttle for free. You do not have to worry about congestion or parking in and around the area for the event. Just jump on the shuttle for free, enjoy the free Wi-Fi and air conditioning. And the signs will be located all throughout, pick up and drop off location. And for more information, you can always double back on the website, connectdouglas.com, or give a call, or even reach out to our friends and collaborators over at the Cultural Arts Council. With that, I say thank you.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you, Danielle. Again, you guys are doing a great job of giving us the information that we need. This is the type of data that we and the citizens need to hear. It's not just surface, it's rich. And so getting comfortable with allowing data to drive decisions. No longer is it about the old factors prowess. Show me data. In God we trust, all others bring data. So I appreciate what you guys are sharing with us that validates sort of the decisions that we make. 2 quick things that you mentioned, and this is just to a side, like, well, gee, why didn't we use the buses out there at Sweetwater State Park? I mean, you know how thick it is out there? They got to go up and down Mount Vernon, but that's to the side. That's just me in the moment. Like, I got to come back to that later. But more importantly is, you mentioned about, and Rachel, I need you to hear this if you're still here. There is an economic component to this. right? And as much as just for the board perspective, yeah, we put a $2 million investment, right, capital stack, 3 years, every year, 6 million, to be honest, right? We put our component as part of that, but there is a general return. You can't run from the numbers. How much is our fares coming to offset that? That's important. So volume is important. Yes, we're meeting the needs, but there's got to be at least a base threshold. Yes, we knew we were collective doing. We were invested, right? We want to get us something to work with. You never want to be undercapitalized whenever you're starting something. So we knew what we were doing. But at the same point, we got to be accountable for that. So we need to know the data. That's why it's important. So data is the data. The numbers don't lie. But we also know, all right, guys, so we need that volume. You need volume. You need density and stuff. So I get that this scatter diagram. I get that, like, yeah, but if you go there, it's no different than as it relates to people being the digital divide. Like, yeah, there's got to be warranty going all over the place. So y'all got to be very strategic, and when you come out with your recommendations, you got to be refined. It's not could we go there, but should we? And yeah, how do we close that first or last mile, right? In today's time, on demand, straight up to your household and stuff. So it's a balancing act, and I'm looking forward to. I want y'all to be very thoughtful about this. I hope we just not any other. I know you guys do a lot of county work, municipal work, and systems work, but I hope y'all are thoughtful about this. Like, okay, but Douglas is unique, right? 64% of my people go over to Atlanta. I sort of knew that. I'm glad I finally got the latest number. Ron, remember that number, right? 64% of people. We are a bedroom community. We know this, right? Everybody roll up out of here. They go over to Atlanta, higher wages. I understand. Better career paths, I get it, but there's an inverse back, right? To your point, so there's a net, but they're getting those jobs because they can drive over here and connect with those jobs. That's the whole point of the trend. Is like, well, the people living here, look, let's make sure they get an opportunity now. But even if they got $1 worth of taxation, can they at least get to those jobs, get to those opportunities to increase their life? So I'm loving what I hear because I can interpret like, oh, this is good. The numbers don't lie. Like, yeah, everybody roll up out of here. They come back over here, they go to sleep. But there's a big economic engine over here. And you got people coming outside the county that's coming to get this. Well, can we give them a fair opportunity, people who live here, who may not be quite, they got the Lexuses and all this stuff, and they can get around, right? That first generation, because it's so expensive. So this is good. It's all about options. And like I said, it's about mobility options. That was your first comment. Like, there you go, checkbox. About options. You got to move. You got to live. So, guys, I can go on with this, but thank you so much for that. You guys did a great job. Thank you for this. We've got to keep it moving. And so with that being said, Director Roberts, anything else before you yield the floor? Because we got to keep this moving.
No, sir, we yield. That's the information I needed to bring. I appreciate everyone's time today.
Rachel, Danielle, thank you guys. See you next time.
Thank you.
All right. Director Ronald, let's keep us moving. Next up, who do you have on the agenda for us?
Next is updates from Public Works, and for that we have Director Colbert. And you should be able to share your screen now.
Eve, welcome. Greetings. Good afternoon. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Anybody see my screen? No.
Not yet.
Yeah, it is not working there. Okay, well, I have a nice little diagram. We'll just show you the process of where we stand as far as the different projects and things. But I'm going to go over SPLOST, the LMIG 2022. So we're 98% complete. There is only, a little bit of striping and punch lists left. There was no work on it last week due to working in a subdivision. Windermere, an older subdivision, had some repairs we had to jump on, and then they're back on it this week. So that will be finishing up this week, maybe next week, just depends on the rain coming in. And then 23, LMIG resurfacing, we received our bids. We had a committee meet and make a decision or a suggestion, and I presented that to the work session yesterday. As far as the bidders that we had was Bartow, Magnum Paving, and CW Matthews. So, and we suggested the lowest bidder was Bartow, and they had you know, they have everything that they need to be successful in this, to do a good job for us, and they came in as the lowest bidder, so that's my recommendation.
Don't leave that point right there. So Bartow, again, I did see it as Matthews guys. They pretty much had a lock here for a while. So it sounds like we now got some competition in here, and somebody was able to compete in an equal opportunity moment. They outright won, and so I'm not certain who Bartow is. I'm sure your team did the proper screening and filtering, and it's always about capacity to deliver. And so are you comfortable that while they've got the lowest bid, do they have the capacity to meet the expectations of obviously you guys, specifically in transportation, but broadly for the county?
Yes, sir, they do. In fact, we rated them as as also the most qualified for this position, for this job. So, you know, the lowest, most qualified bidder, and there's nothing in their packet that would suggest anything other. And same with recommendations, talking to people about their work history. So,
I got you. So lowest bid, last point, and I'll let you keep going. So, because I'm going fast. Lowest bid, all right, so the question is, but how did that rate against our budget? So I know all of them, you know, I get it, but did it meet our budget? Did it come under?
does it come in under our budget?
I'm sorry?
It came in just under our budget. So.
All right, keep going then.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
keep going.
all good with everything there. So,
All right, sounds good.
okay. Moving on, just touch on a couple things real quick. Unless you don't want to hear about them, tell me to stop and I'll stop. But it is our mowing and litter pickup. Yellowstone has started the second of the 8th iteration, so that's kind of where we're at right now. And then also yesterday I presented the Brightview for doing an extension to the I-20 ramps. And we don't have to send it back out to bid. This is year 2. And as I explained yesterday, they really came in and helped us out, because we had a lame duck on our hands with the cheapest bidder, and they were falling behind very bad, and they wanted double. So we put them out. We called Brightview, said, "Hey, would you still step in here and do this job for what you did?" And they did. They said, "Yeah, we'd love to." And they got out there and just started producing. You know, they did exactly what we wanted them to do, and what Russell could not do. So we're recommending we just extend their contract through this year, one more year, and then we can go from here on out, one year at a time, however the board sees fit.
So don't leave that point right there, and again, I'm getting feedback as we go. So just to my prior comment, right, you have capacity to deliver. Now, I appreciate your leadership and your approach to this. Like sometimes, I mean, they say, slow to hire, quick to fire. Like, no, you gotta deliver. I know people want these government contracts, they love that have that type of revenue on it, you know, and so, but you gotta be able to deliver. And I know it's tough and it's competitive, but we have expectations and stuff. So I'm glad that you guys have the capacity and the diligence to make a decision like, no, this is not going to get there. We got to change course. I wish more would be like that in the county. Sometimes we tolerate and we maintain, D averages. Like, no, come on, guys, we better than that. The citizens deserve better than that. And you guys are the ones that make the actual decision. Says, okay, guys, you get to evaluate them. And I know sometimes we know these people and we don't want like, because we know them, we allow our relationships to get in the way of like, no, this is business. And so, I mean, I get it. You got an opportunity, but sometimes, I mean, I'm glad I'm hearing what I need to hear, and it's okay. It's not down. I'm encouraging attrition or things like that. But if it's not meeting the expectation, and you're paying for it, then that's an issue. Then we're in compromise on the very thing that we're paying for. We're allowing it. So thank you for holding the guard. I'm holding that line. You know, obviously, literally and figuratively, I'm trusting your eyes when you see something that's not what it's supposed to be. I'm not saying you got to do work, but you do have the decision making to be able to do what's right for the best interest of the county. So thank you for that. All right, keep going.
Well, that concludes my report, unless you have any other questions.
No, I'm good. Director Ronnie, any comments on his submissions today?
Yes, sir. Before we move forward, I think if we can make a formal recommendation to select Bardo Paving to be selected for RFQ 23-15 and make a formal recommendation to the board.
That will be our action item. Anything regarding content? You're okay with our progress and how things are flowing? You good?
Yes, sir. We did get the bid evaluations. Me and Heath would require a conversation about the budgeting. When Elmic came in, we allocated about $500,000 from our local match for a grant amount of $1.4 million. So that puts us at $1.9 million for the total amount. I would like to discuss at some point what the bids are, where they stand, and what the cost is needed to complete that payment. And other than that, I'm very satisfied with everything else.
There's some costs. Where do we pull our money from to make that 500,000?
So that was coming from general fund to match for the Elmic grant.
Got it.
And this year there were no SPLOST allocations.
Right. And we did not pull this out of the capital transportation fund either, did we?
No, sir.
And we did not pull out of the capital improvement fund either, did we?
No, sir. We presented this to be funded through the general fund.
Yep, I got it. I just want to make sure for the record, we didn't pull from those two buckets that sometimes either for capital or for transportation that were available. That's all. We're good.
Yes.
All right. So then go ahead and call your motion for accepting and recommending to the full board Bartow as to provide our services this year.
Heath.
Heath?
I'm sorry, I thought that was.
Whatever. Anybody can make the recommendation.
Right. Okay, so I would like to recommend we award the bid to Bartow Paving. They came in as the lowest bidder and most qualified for the 2023 LMIG contract.
Second.
You got a second. At the amount of what?
I don't have that right in front of me right now.
All right, so we got a second. Make sure we have that when it gets to the full board, okay? Exactly.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we got a motion. We got a second by Director Rodham. Any further discussion? If no, we'll go around the room. I'll start with myself again. You got to state your name and your position, just because this is online Zoom. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Suleiman Rana, yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
Yes.
Who was that last yes?
Heath Coward, yes. I don't know who you heard.
Yes. All right. So we heard all four. So that means it was unanimous of the voting members that are here. And so it moves forward to the next level, to the full board. All right. Director Rana, back to you.
Yes, sir. I'll go ahead and share my screen so we have the agenda in front of us.
Yep.
All right, screen is back up. So the first item I have is a follow-up from a presentation we had in this committee in February of this year. We had HRC, our consultants, here present I-20 at Lee Road Landscape Enhancement Project. They're working on developing a landscape plan that enhances the colors, the greenery at this interchange, basically addressing the deficiencies on the four quadrants we have on this interchange. That design is progressing, and we're submitting to GDOT for an encroachment permit. So as the design concludes, we can encroach into their right-of-way and produce our design. Part of that encroachment permit is an indemnity agreement with GDOT that will require this committee and then the board's approval.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. They're not indemnifying them, right? GDOT. That we own this, or is it the other way around?
Yes, sir. It is that way. So the county assumes the responsibility.
That's what I thought. Yep, we own it outright. Got it. Keep going.
For that, I'll just stop here and make a formal motion if there are no more questions. So I make a motion that the committee recommends the indemnity agreement and the encroachment permit with GDOT for full board approval.
I'll second that. All right, any discussion? And just one point of clarity. This is going to go to the full board of commissioners, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. I've got a motion and a second. No further discussion. We'll call the question again. You got to say your name, Heath, just because people may not see your name pop up and stuff. So we got to record it for the record. So Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Suleiman Rana, yes.
Keith Cowart, yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
All right, we got a 4-0 unanimous vote on passes for the indemnification to go to the full Board of Commissioners for GDOT for the landscaping reporting. All right, keep going.
Thank you. The next item is the Safety Action Plan Program, which is a grant in the amount of $400,000 through GDOT. This grant came up end of last month to our notice, and through our coordination with the district office, we were notified about the available funding opportunity. So what we do is we'll have to put together an application to present our case on the basis of safety requirements to warrant different roads that need safety or operational improvements. This grant covers a variety of operational improvements, but given the situation we're in with the limited time window that we were allowed for this grant, we have identified pursuing signing and marking updates on about 21 county roads, and basically allocate 30% of $400,000, which is about $120,000 towards this project. We are at the application stage, so we are very hopeful that we will get this award, but however the results go, we have a very generous list of roads that we would like to address, and I'd be happy to read the list into the record if you'd like so.
Please do so for here at the committee level, please.
Yes. All right, so the first road is Post Road from Highway 78 to Dead End. Second is Riverside Parkway from Highway 92 to County Line. Third is Skyview Drive from South Sweetwater Road to Highway 6. Fourth is Big A Road from Highway 5 to Highway 166. Fifth is South Sweetwater Road from Highway 78 to Mount Vernon Road. Sixth is Highway Point Road from Burton Road to Highway 166. Seventh is Doris Road from Cedar Mount Road to County Line. Eighth is Bright Star Road from Highway 78 to Highway 5. Ninth is North Sweetwater Road from Highway 78 to County Line. 10th is Chapel Hill Road from Houseboat Drive to Highway 166. 11th is Anawaki Road from Chapel Hill Road to Highway 92. 12th is Cedar Mountain Road from Chicago Avenue to Man Road. 13th is Blair's Bridge Road from Mount Vernon Road to Douglasville city limits. 14th is Liberty Road from Villarica city limits to Post Road. 15th is Caps Ferry Road from Highway 166 to Fulton County Line. 16th is Maxim Road from Skyview Drive to Cobb County Line. 17th is Pope Road from Highway 92 to Anawaki Road. 18th is Bomar Road from Highway 92 to Chapel Hill. 19th is Maroney Mill Road from Highway 92 to Highway 78. 20th is Mason Creek Road from Post Road to Dorset Shoals Road. And 21st is Mount Vernon Road from Highway 92 to Sweetwater Terrace.
Got it. That is a nice list of roads. But again, this is just for signs and marking. So what is marking? So for the record, this distinguished for the citizens quickly, signs and markings. What does that mean to them?
So signing and marking is the term we use together, but signing is basically the standing post with an instruction for the drivers, and marking is any marking that dictates the traffic flow. While the word is used together, signing and marking, and that is the category of this grant that we're applying for, our focus is strictly the signs that stand on a post, and that's what we'll be replacing on these roads.
So, we're just replacing, or we're adding?
Replacing mostly, and we have the option to add if they're needed on these roadways, so we can do both.
So the signs that we currently have are they broken? Are they faded out by the sun over 30 years? Or you got better verbiage, better luminescence, better whatever?
Yes. So we currently do have a backlog of sign replacements. Earlier this year, through our beautification plan, we started analyzing the number of signs we have and develop a strategy to not only address the backlog, but come up to date with the replacement needs of these signs. So at this point, we can extrapolate that we have about 50,000 signs throughout the county. Our current capacity is about 1,200 replacement of 1,200 sounds per year. So there exists a gap that needs to be filled. and grants like these are an opportunity to fill that gap. With this direction, we're starting off by maximizing our resources and replacing the signs that we can for now. But with this grant and going forward into the next year in the budget recession, we'll be asking for additional resources so we can increase our capacity and add or address those aging, eroded, or missing signs on these major roadways.
So 50,000 signs, we only do 1,200 a year. And that's only this would allow us to do 200. So that's what, 3% give or take? Like, wow. Again, transportation is expensive, and even for that, get resurfacing roads and things like that. Even for this, we're behind. To your point, and so we can only take it one step at a time. So duly noted, well stated. I get the value of this, and that was just for the record, explaining what this really means for citizens. So this is about replacement. Again, when things dilapidate, when things age, you do have to rebuild, redevelop, replace. So I get it. All right, so do you want to make a motion?
Yes, sir. This is already on the board's agenda to vote on tonight. Do you think we should still proceed with the motion?
Yeah, we need to have it for the record that we did.
All right.
I know sometimes we're off, but just for the record, for our committee, we always want to dot our I's. So
of course. So I make a motion that the committee recommends the Safety Action Plan Program grant application for full board approval.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. I'm going to make a comment. This is why this was important. Did you send out the list? Even though we talked about the work session, did you get my peer involvement? That's how sometimes we can remand stuff back to committee. And because the list could get altered. So has my peers weighed in on the list? Did you make any changes in what was presented, or just for the record?
There were no changes, and the list was sent out yesterday.
All right. Did you get any feedback from anybody? Did anybody say anything?
We did get feedback from District 4. There were 2 roads that were pointed out. One was Mason Creek that falls within this application, but given that this is a grant and we're still at the application stage, some safety concerns were brought up. So my plan is to have those evaluated by the end of the day today. And if there are needs that signs need to be added or replaced, we'll handle that out of our budget so we can address that issue within a week or two, rather than waiting a longer time that this grant would have us to do. So that's what we're doing to address those concerns.
All right, so just for the record, I want to acknowledge Commissioner from the 4th District, his input, that this list may not reflect his input, but then there's an operational administrative action that you're going to take to ensure that need is met. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. In fact, our staff is out there now, and we should be hearing back very soon.
All right, let's make sure whoever's capturing the meeting minutes got my statement as part of this acknowledgement. All right, we got a motion in a second. We're going to go around the room. All that are in favor of this motion, please, or against, please signify by with your name and your position. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Suleiman Rana, yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
Keith Cowart, yes.
All right, we got a full unanimous vote. It passes on to the full board with that acknowledgement regarding Commissioner of the 4th District. All right, what else we got?
Next item is a discussion item from Riverside Parkway. Last week, we met with a group of concerned parents whose children go to New Manchester Elementary School. And what had happened was, on a single day, we saw 2 crashes around the school. One involved school buses that happened on Riverside Parkway and Fairburn intersection. A second crash that happened from Old Lower River Road intersection at Riverside Parkway. That was a vehicular crash, and we still wanted to consider that. So given that the 2 accidents happened on the same day, the concerned parents came to us for asking for an evaluation of the condition. Now, Riverside Parkway in general is about 6 miles of roadway, and what we're seeing is some growth pains on Riverside Parkway, and most of it is within the city limits, including one major subdivision that is just across from that school on Riverside Parkway. As a band-aid solution for the time being, we recommend that we add school flashers to a segment of Riverside Parkway that is shown on the screen at this current stage. So what this is going to do is it's going to cover the intersection of Old Lower River Road at Riverside Parkway and reduce the speed for the time when the school is in session so that drivers can be aware and everybody could be moving at a controllable speed and reduce the safety risk that this intersection may pose. may cause in the future. So for now, we just have a recommendation that this committee approves or recommends school flashers to be added on Riverside Parkway for full board approval.
Absolutely, I can support that. I understand, and you're right, road pains, we're about to add all those additional housing units out there, and it's only gonna get thicker. And Riverside is a parkway, right? So it's unique. And so whatever we can do for traffic calming, traffic mitigation, congestion, just pure operational safety or passage. You know, it's called safe passages, right? And people I just want to get to school, just want to get the bus out, right? And so I appreciate this recommendation. So is the flasher enough? Will we have block cameras or anything there? Like, are we going to enforce this thing? I mean, I get the signal, and there should be what they call, people should be able to regulate themselves, personal responsibility. But you know, again, to your point, 2 accidents in the same day, dang. All right, so that we do need to take action. We do need to acknowledge that. But is that enough, even for a quick win, just to flash it? Will the flasher have some type of indicator, some type of recording device? I don't know. What are you thinking? You see where I'm going. I want to enforce it. So go ahead.
Yes, sir, I agree. And definitely enforcement is going to be a big piece of this change. As far as driver awareness goes, these flashers come with a flashing light, so drivers can acknowledge when the school zone needs to be abided by. Now, the school does use law enforcement for their peak hours or peak sessions. It's merely a 15 minutes of peak session that the school by itself goes through. Riverside remains congested or used throughout different peak hours, but school has that power to have law enforcement make sure that the riders are following those speed limits as instructed. So that is where the law enforcement component is going to come in from. And we can, as a county, certainly if this condition persists, we can coordinate with the sheriff's office from ourselves and have that looked at. But for now, if we add the flasher, there's going to be awareness to the drivers, and the school using their existing law enforcement personnel that they use for peak hours or peak session can pretty much enforce that.
Got it. So how many flashers? Just one right there? Is it 20 feet before, 50 feet? I mean, where would you place this?
We are doing 2 flashers. That covers at least 200 to 300 feet away from that intersection where we see an influx of school-related activity. So we'll be doing it 1 on each side to cover any traffic that's headed towards the intersection.
All right, that's important. And while I do acknowledge your comment that this is in city of Douglasville proper, the county owns the road, and so we're responsible for addressing that through a service delivery. And so we acknowledge our responsibility in this. So I appreciate you bringing this forth. So is this going to be on the agenda? Are you doing this administratively, or what is your intention?
No, sir. With any operational improvements such as traffic controlling devices or controlling measures, we get committee's approval, and then if the committee approves this today, we'll put it for board approval in the next meeting.
Let's move forward on this. So I'm ready for a motion on this.
Okay, I make a motion that this committee recommends school flashers to be added on Riverside Parkway for full board approval.
Ron Roberts, second.
All right, we got a motion by Director Rana. We got a second by Director Roberts. Any discussion? Just one, David Good, make a note of that to make sure that we're highlighting that as we're out. And we're acknowledging the responsibility that we do. Even some things are operational and administrative. People still need to see that, how there's a correlation between day-to-day budget and the broader capital that they give us through SPLOST and so forth. So just make a side note of that for us, please, because that is important. It is jurisdictionally that we're working with the school board regarding that, and the citizens at large, they don't distinguish the difference. A road is a road is a road, so let's just make note of that. All right. So, thanks, sir. All right, with that being said, guys, we'll go around the room again. Just acknowledge your name and your position on this matter. I, Kelly Robinson, vote yes.
Solomon Rana, yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
Keith Cowart, yes.
All right, that's 4 unanimous of the current voting membership of this transportation committee, and it passes. Send it on to the full board at our next meeting in June.
Will do. Thank you all. So next item is actually a great news for Lee Road Phase 1. A few weeks ago, we were notified about an additional $1.2 million in federal aid towards the project. This project is it's already in design, and we started off with a rather smaller federal share, and now we've increased the federal share to up to $1.7 million totally dedicated towards this project with a 20% local match. So even though we were moving full steam ahead, we did get reinforcement and our voices were heard at regional level and were awarded additional dollars, which I think is great news for the project.
Right. So what does that give me? So is this just for design?
Yes, sir. This is just for design. We're in PE phase, and this being a federal ed project, it's gonna take its natural time to progress throughout the extended design period that we have. So it is in design.
Okay, so we got PE, so we're going to add more money to it. So what was the first amount in our match?
So initially we started off with the federal grant of $567,000. That came with a 20% local match of $113,400. Now with the additional $1.2 million with 20% match, we have a total federal allocation of $1.7 million with about $197 in local match.
That combined or just for this round?
The latter part was combined for just PE.
Yeah, all right. So that's what I'm saying. So all this is just for PE, or is this going to be for the actual architectural design?
This is for the preliminary design for the project.
Yes. Yeah, it's preliminary, but will they do the full design or just only PE preliminary?
So the full design was broken up into 2 task orders. This deals with the first one. It wouldn't fully cover us through the full design, but initially we were projecting or relying on SPLOST dollars to basically fill in the gaps. Now that burden has reduced, so that is certainly a conversation we can have to see how we can best incorporate this. So initially we predicted about $2.5 million for full design. We kicked this project off with about $1.2 million of design allocations. Now we have $1.7 million in federal funds. So that still leaves a gap of about, I would say, $700,000 to $800,000, which will be covered by SPLOST.
The current SPLOST or new SPLOST?
We have it in the new SPLOST. And the match for this supplement will come from the current SPLOST.
Right. So I remember originally there was some money left over. We split between 34 projects, about $200,000 per how we spread that out. And David, do you remember what this was? I mean, I need you to weigh in on this one. So I just want to put the record, because this is an important project. We always talk about the Lee Road widening, the Lee Road extension, but this was the original phase 1, independent of the bridge. Not just for the record, I need to help me understand how we're using these different buckets, because we haven't started using we should not have started using. I hope we haven't started using the current new SPLOST. That all this is coming from the existing SPLOST in whatever bucket it may be remaining. But we haven't started pulling down from the existing from the new SPLOST. Is that true?
That is true, from my understanding, and Director Reyna can correct me if I'm wrong, but that is true. We have not started using any new proceeds. So everything is coming from the 2016 SPLOST. There was a certain amount of allocation that went to certain, I believe they're called TIF projects, and Lee Road Phase 1 was one of those projects.
All right, so Director Brown, so it means we got an extra, because the old SPLOST is currently over as of March 31st. And so I know we were doing a little bit above than what we had projected. So there's probably some extra money that's left over. Is that what I'm saying? Is that what I'm hearing, that you have some additional money in the coffers for the conclusion of that revenue stream?
Yes, sir. So the current SPLOST was used to support this phase of the design. And the way this design was split up was that it was going to take a share from 2016 SPLOST for half of the design. And then a future phase is going to come in next year, which is going to cover the second half of the design, and that's going to rely on 2022 SPLOST. So currently, with everything we have in play, everything's reliant on 2016 SPLOST, as you stated.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Robinson, can I make a point?
Yes, please. Yes.
And then also remember, this was also part of the reforecast that we did when we saw increasing revenue and also increasing costs on several projects that we put into design engineering. So this is one of those projects that we, the Board of Commissioners decided to push forward, saying that once it gets underway, there will be a certain amount of funds that will be dedicated to this project.
right, so they made it through. It's sort of like at the end of it. It's like what's left over.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sounds like these are one of the maybe 3 or 4 projects that the board determined like let's go ahead and just move it along down the field.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, it would not fulfill everything that we needed, but at least let's move it along based on let's be faithful over the funds that are remaining. And so these were the priorities that the board set. All right.
Yes, Chair of the committee.
Got it. All right, Director Ron, I'm good. Next,
All right.
you can do it. A course of action.
Yes, sir. I'll make a motion at this point. So I make a motion that this committee recommends the supplemental project framework agreement with GDOT for Lee Road Phase 1 widening for full board approval.
I'll second that one. All right, we got a motion by Director Rana, second by the chair of the committee. Any discussion? All right, not going to go around the room or call the person. All in favor or against, please say your name and your position. Kelly Robinson votes yes.
Ron Roberts votes yes.
Suleiman Rana, yes.
Keith Cowart, yes.
All right, that's a 4-0 unanimous vote, and the motion passes to send to the full board of commissioners regarding this supplemental, and it is exciting news that we got additional money from the Fed. So yes, leverage our capital stack as much as possible. Thank you for being active and even pursuing this and bringing it before us. All right, anything else?
Thank you, sir. We have one last easy ad left. So we advertised RFQ 23-06 for on-demand pavement striping throughout the county roads. We use our departmental's budget to perform any striping needs throughout the county. Result of that RFQ, we got 2 responses, and we're willing to go under contract with both of the responders so we can use them as on need basis, and whoever comes in cheaper for per project. We got responses from Peak Pavement Markings and Tidwell Traffic Solutions. So I would like to make a motion that this committee recommends both vendors be contracted under this RFQ for full board approval.
All right, we got a motion. Can I get a second?
Second, Ron Roberts.
I got a motion and a second. So let me make sure I get this one right. So we now have, like, we have engineers that are on demand, and we have other service providers that are on demand. This is our RFQ and out, and they both provided their credentials, and the committee, whomever you deem reviewed it, and you think they're both qualified. And so this is not going to be a commitment of dollars at this point. We're just saying they're on the short list that if we have a future need, we've already gone through that process. And so there'll be a solicitation back out to them saying, hey guys, will both of them get the same thing? Said, all right, but for this right here, how will you fulfill this? And I get them being on the list, but what does that mean?
Yes, sir, and you're absolutely correct. There is no dollar amount commitment at this stage. As a part of this on-demand RFQ, what they've done is given us a unit price of the different line items we need for our striping needs. Now, what we will do is, as the need arises, we'll reach out to both of them, evaluate their unit prices. Given the same scope, whoever comes in the cheapest will be the one we use. So this is not a commitment at this stage. As the need arises in the future, we'll be presenting separate contracts for each individual job for this committee and then the board approval.
Yeah, we definitely got to send this to the full board anytime we pre-qualify and put people on lists so that they need to have full visibility. So I have no problem with that. So did I hear a motion in a second? I did. And so with that being said, go around the room. Those who support this sending to the full board of commissioners, please indicate by name and your position. Kelly Robinson, yes.
Suleiman Rana, yes.
Ron Roberts, yes.
Keith Cowart, yes.
Excellent. 4-0 unanimous vote, and the motion passes to send to the full board of commissioners. All right. Anything else formally need to come before the board?
That concludes our agenda, sir.
All right. I just want to make before I want to make Director Roberts, just for the record, I'm not certain if our team is still here for
yes,
P, but make sure between you and Eric, y'all go back. Again, we've got RFQs of going out to our existing service provider for the buses for another contract, but yet same point, we're evaluating our current needs, and yet we're still entering into relationships and expanding relationships with other partners in Q. It's so important that they stay ahead of this, that we do real time. There has to it has to feed each other. So I just don't want, because I know sometimes we get in our own little silos and people only focus on what they want to focus on. They sometimes don't stretch enough to even appreciate the other things that are moving at the same time. So I don't want to I appreciate the strategic planning that's going on. And that's an academic type of exercise, but you also have an area that's living and breathing right now. So let's make sure they stay synced, okay? And that the feedback that we're getting out of our existing system feeds into the planning for the future, okay?
Absolutely. I do understand that, Commissioner. I appreciate you bringing it up yesterday and today, and it is heavy on my mind. I am a planner, and I am trying to think ahead. How you write an RFP for a system you don't quite know exactly what it is yet. So there will be some generalities. But for the most part, there's a consistency in boilerplate in there, and then there's some flexibility in RFP, and then so it's still being drafted, still working on it. But yeah, I totally get where you're going, and that is something that I want to utilize our TMP process to help with that development.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. You guys got any comments before I close this out? And I'm gonna get, no, that's fine. David Good, real quick. I know you're out there. I know you're participating in a lot of things. Are we hearing any anecdotal stories regarding transportation? What is the feedback that you're hearing right now out there, just for the record, so we can acknowledge those voices when you do, since you have a role out there in the community?
It's really twofold. You're hearing a lot of people either comment on transportation or transit. Some have said that they've seen an uptick when it comes to transit, and as more job openings are occurring in the county, they are looking for ways of getting around the county. Lee Road has been a big part of it, but I believe at one of the last meetings, Director Rayner had some answers for a lot of those questions, whether it came up where the senior center is, or whether it came up at South Sweetwater Road and some other places around the county. So a lot of things that people have put out. Director Rayner has been responsive. Not too long ago, we ended up getting a question from a citizen about South Baggett in 78, and Director Rayner was able to answer it. So a lot of questions that come through, I'm able to get over to Director Rayner, over to Howard, and those things are solved. So it seems that people are pretty pleased with things that's going on now. They're seeing we're a growing county, and it seems to them that we're able to have our infrastructure is keeping up. So I'm hearing good things in the last couple of months.
Yeah, so we're going to just keep the pulse of the citizens, make sure we acknowledge them, that their voice is not dropping. So I appreciate that. Director Ron, are you good? Are we good? All things satisfied?
Yes, sir. We are good.
All right. So thank you, guys. I know this is rich. I mean, I like meetings like that. It didn't necessarily go long. We just got done the work of the people, and it takes what it takes. So with nothing else that needs to come before this May 16, 2023 Transportation Committee of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners, let this meeting stand adjourned.